Disappointed your telescope doesn't look like Hubble's? That's normal. Hubble stacks hours of light. You see it live. And that makes your view even more special.
You know, if you spend any time on social media looking at space pictures, you've probably seen this. Some amateur astronomer posts this incredible shot of a galaxy, and right next to it is the same shot from the Hubble Space Telescope. It's this whole me versus Hubble trend, and honestly, it's pretty amazing. All right, let's really get into this. And you always see these kinds of hilarious, tongue-in-cheek comments with the posts. It just perfectly nails the whole vibe of the challenge. It's funny, it's a great way to show off some serious talent, but it also makes you ask a really important question. What exactly are we comparing here? Look, these comparisons are an awesome showcase of just how far consumer tech has come, but they can also create a pretty big misunderstanding about what a scientific instrument like the Hubble telescope is actually for. So, to really get to the bottom of this, let's follow one amateur who decided to take on this exact challenge himself. And his plan was, well, ambitious doesn't even cover it. He wanted to photograph the famous Pillars of Creation from his rooftop balcony in one of the most light-polluted cities on Earth, Tokyo. And when you look at the gear, the difference is just mind-boggling. I mean, we're talking about a 6-inch mirror versus Hubble's 2.4-meter mirror. A rooftop in Tokyo fighting through atmosphere and city lights versus the pure vacuum of space. A focal length of maybe 60 centimeters versus Hubble's nearly 58 meters. It is the definition of a David versus Goliath setup. So you've got to ask, right? How can anyone on the ground, especially from the middle of a massive city, even hope to get an image that's in the same league as an orbiting space telescope? The disadvantages just seem, well, they seem impossible to overcome. And this is the brilliant part. The strategy isn't to try and overpower Hubble with better hardware. That's just not going to happen. The strategy is to cheat. It's to cleverly copy the very same scientific methods that Hubble itself uses to get those iconic shots. So it all breaks down into this really clever 4-step process. First, you use these special filters that block out all the city light pollution and only let in the specific colors coming from the gases in the nebula. Then, to get super clean images, the camera sensor is actually cooled down to reduce all that electronic static or noise. Of course, you need a really precise tracking mount to follow that target for hours on end. And then, for the final piece of magic, you use a computational trick called drizzling, which, by the way, Hubble also uses, to combine a bunch of images into one super high-resolution photo. So after all that planning, all that tech, all that time, it was the moment of truth. How did the picture from the rooftop actually turn out? Was it even possible? Could this backyard photo really stand next to an image from Hubble?
And the answer is yeah. At first glance, the result is just incredible. The colors are there, those famous pillar shapes are super sharp and clear, and here's the wild part. Because the amateur telescope has a wider field of view, it actually captures more of the nebula around the pillars than the famous Hubble image does. It almost looks like he's seeing more.
It's a phenomenal achievement, for sure. But, and this is a huge but, this first side-by-side look is also where the whole comparison gets really, really misleading. Because what makes Hubble so powerful isn't something you can see at this scale. To really see why Hubble is just in a different league entirely, we've got to stop looking at these as just pretty pictures. We need to see them for what they really are. These massive, dense archives of scientific data. And this is where it gets absolutely wild. When you zoom in on the amateur photo, it starts to get blurry and pixelated pretty fast, just like you'd expect. But then you zoom in on the Hubble image, and you keep zooming, and you just keep zooming. And more detail just keeps appearing. It never stops. The level of detail is just staggering. And hey, you don't have to take my word for it. These are the words of the amateur astronomer himself when he was digging into the full-resolution Hubble data. Even for him, someone who's seen this picture countless times, the sheer amount of information just gave him shivers. It's not just a better photo, it's like looking at a different universe. So what is all that extra detail? What is Hubble actually seeing? It's seeing individual stars inside other galaxies. It's seeing tiny separate nebulae within those galaxies. It's capturing these tiny little wisps of gas that are completely invisible from the ground. See, the amateur image is a picture. The Hubble image is a scientific map of a piece of the cosmos. And this is why that astronomer says the Hubble image is infinitely better. It's not because it's prettier, It's because it can see an object that an amateur scope can't detect at all, just zero information, nothing there. And it can turn that nothing into a clear object that you can actually study. That leap from 0 to 1, that's where discovery begins. So where does that leave us? Does this mean the whole me versus Hubble thing is pointless? No, absolutely not. It just means we need to reframe what we're looking at. This isn't about one being better than the other. It's about two totally different kinds of amazing.
On one side, you've got amateur astrophotography. The whole purpose there is to create stunning art, to hone your technical skills, and to push consumer technology to its absolute limit. And then on the other side, you have the Hubble Space Telescope. Its purpose is pure science, discovery, and data collection, all designed to expand what we as a species actually know about the universe. So at the end of the day, this challenge isn't really a competition. It's a celebration. It's this incredibly cool exercise that pushes amateurs to perfect every single part of their craft. And in doing that, they end up with this profound firsthand appreciation for why an instrument like Hubble isn't just nice to have, it's truly irreplaceable.
It's a powerful reminder, isn't it? That sometimes the most interesting stories aren't in the simple side-by-side comparison. They're in understanding the completely different questions each side is trying to answer. It kind of makes you wonder, what other simple comparisons are out there that are just hiding a much deeper, more fascinating story?